Let's go explore Sports South, which is the shootingwarehouse.com site. Once I've logged in, I've gone into across the bottom here, view reports. There's product listings. What I'm looking for is all manufacturers, all categories, and let's see. Oh, this is, I can pick all that. Maybe I can pick fields. That. Oh, looks like I'm going to send it out to a CSV. So if we need to go through here, and let's see how this works. So select field, MSRP. So I've double clicked on that, and that's maybe the trick. So if I go back up to the top of this list, oh, I just click it, and that gets me, the default is MSRP pieces per box. So actually I want uh, all things. So I'm going to just be persistent, understand the screen a little bit more. I go up, I'm just going to scoot up, and I go choose. There must be an easier way of doing this. And I'm going to choose all these fields. I'm just scooting back up and clicking. So a little bit wonky, but I get them all blue, and that's the important part. So it looks like I'm going to get all manufacturers, all categories, all fields. Sort order doesn't really matter. And I don't know that stock or non-stock really matters. I want it in a CSV file. And now I'm going to view report. So I'm assuming there's going to be a request here. And then on this screen, I would assume there's going to be a link to a downloadable file. And I would expect it will take a moment to derive. So once this wait window stops, we'll see what we have. So we'll need to get pop-ups allowed. Let's go find out how we get that done. Click pop-up blocked. So right here, this is the pop-up blocked in Chrome. Always allow. Done. So now let's go do this again. We're going to keep the same listing and the same listing here. Do view report. Should generate, and now with this pop-up block turned off, we should have a successful import of the CSV file. There it goes. So now there's a 26 meg file coming down. So that will contain the majority of their inventoried products, and then I'll show you how we get that imported into TransAct. So once we've imported or downloaded from the vendor's site their particular file, let's go first make sure that we have a vendor set up in the system. So we're going to go to this particular location. We're going to go to vendors, and we're just going to go see Sports South. And yes, they do have a Sports South vendor there, and we're going to go ahead and indicate that we do have an electronic catalog. So that will be fine. And then also we'll come back here as to the export setup and indicate this particular step, but we'll get that done here in a little bit after we do the import of the catalog information. So first we need to make sure we have the catalog awareness on that vendor. These items that come in are going to go into the sporting goods department. And if there is another product, and this is a Do It Best store, if that item is also available in Do It Best, this will be considered the secondary vendor in that particular case. So this is where this always primary vendor, secondary, etc. plays out. So appropriate setting will be secondary. So we'll save that. Now, what we want to look at is that spreadsheet that we just imported. I'll get that opened on a copy of Excel. Now, this is a CSV file that's coming in, and it will start to manipulate the UPC codes. So let's go pay attention to that. So in this case, I'm going to go to this top left and I'm going to double click so I get these fields opened up. So A, B, C makes sense. So A will be a category, department, then C will be the description. So we're going to make a note here, description will be C. I'm going to go on across. Long description is going to be too long. Discount price E is going to be cost. Item number will be the item ID that will get assigned to this. And in fact, what we'll probably do is put a prefix as these items come in that it's going to have an SS on the front. So we're going to go back to the vendor and we'll change that. But right now we have F, which will be the vendor part number. And then the manufacturer will be present. That's going to be H. Now the map I'm not certain of, but I'll find out what that means. And then J is the manufacturer part number. And then the model is K. MSRP, and this is where I believe this plays out. MSRP predominantly is 0 in these cases. So I'm going to go back to, let's go look at some pricing here. Let's actually get this changed around so we can view this a little bit easier. There it's looking for freeze. So now I can slide around. So there's the discount price. I was assuming that was MSRP here, but if we go down through this list, here we go. So we do have MSRP looks like it's a real value. That makes sense at times. And if we come back over here, there's a $48 discount to $79. Okay. So I'm going to say that it looks like the discount is cost and the MSRP is in fact MSRP. So that's what we'll take it. And as we get down further, this may be items that are interesting. Well, we know one thing, there's a cost, and then we'll come around and we'll understand this a little bit better here in a moment. So L is MSRP. Then we go a little bit further to the right. There's the units per box, which is M. That's like a purchase unit. Available, that's the current warehouse inventory. Unit of measure is P. Here's the UPC. So Q is UPC, and then that far right to that is the manufacturer text. And we'll leave that alone. The UPC, this is going to be brought in as truly a CSV file. We're not going to save this out as a version of a Excel sheet, because otherwise it'll put in scientific notation. So we'll just leave that alone. So we have our notation as to what fields we want to import. So if we close this, and then we're going to move this file over to this particular site. We have located the data within the TransActPOS folder simply into this import data folder. And this is the CSV file we will import as it is, identifying it by the said columns we were just talking about. So what we're going to do is go to IC maintenance, import, log in here. We're going to be electronic catalog is where we want to go, because we're going to import into the catalog, not directly into the inventory. So we'll do import catalog. We're going to arrow down to the bottom down here where there's a CSV file. That's what we want right here. We're going to choose the file, which we just came from, is going to be the M drive data. And you can actually, and we'll choose this file. There's the file we just looked at. You can do through the remote desktop, have that local as a file locally to you. And we can discuss that with you, how to get that done. Select open. Now we're going to go choose the vendor. It's going to be the SS Sports South vendor right here. We're not going to manipulate price on the way in. We're going to do import. This will bring us up mapping utility. We're going to assign what the columns are for specific fields. So if we go back to the spreadsheet and the notes we had, for instance, column F is going to be item number. So that's what we'll select. Here, we'll choose the SKU will be column F. The description, we column C. The UPC is Q. Manufacturer ID is J. The manufacturer name is H. Class will be assigned as these items come in. Retail is L, the MSRP. Cost is E. Item note could actually be brought in. So item note, if we go back over here, it's pretty big, but that's item note. That's going to be R. So that would be that particular field. So let's just go ahead and bring in R while we're at it. Data begins on row 2. And ends when it gets to the end of the database. So we'll select Save. It will import, taking a moment for the 30,000 items to come in. So upon completion, the system returns to the import catalog screen. So let's go find an item. I'm going to go to back to our list. Let's go over and let's look up an item over here. There's an item number. We'll take that item number, 21779. Let's just go into the catalog. So we're going to come out. I see electronic catalog 21779. We should have that product. So there is that item. It is the $40 retail, and the $26.51 is the cost. Go back to this SKU. If we go on across here, you see there's the $40, and then over here is the $26.51 as we were expecting, and also the UPC. So in this particular case, it comes over exponential and fool around with that. But if we're directly importing into a CSV, there's no issue with that. So this is what we have. So if we go, we would like to go and change one thing as we talked about earlier, is we need to go into the vendor file. Now we're going to go look up, let's go into Sportsman's or Sports South. And we're going to put a prefix on that of SS. So as that SKU comes in, it will get a prefix of SS and then the number. Because what you can come into is that since there are some 6-digit numbers here, as we look one more time on that file, 6-digit numbers, those have certainly a high potentiality of conflicting with, say, like a do it best or a true value part number. So this item, as it comes in, will have a prefix on it. So if we go add that item, now that we've added that, if we go back to the catalog, and we put it at 21779, and we do a select of it, and we do add, we should see that it comes at SS21779. The lookup by will have 21779, simply as lookup, etc. So that's like we want it being appended into the system, and the default will be for the class will be sporting goods. So that looks like that takes care of that. Now the other item we want to look at when we're talking about completing the inventory loop is the creation of the export file from a purchase order. So if we go create a PO for this customer, or excuse me, vendor, we're going to go in and go to Sports South, accept, detail, and we'll make a note here. So this is a sample, so we're not conflicting with anything at the store. So I'll add that item we just had. I want to order one at the 26.51. Now the neat part here is if we put in a 100951, watch what happens. So 100951. If we select enter there, it doesn't auto add on the fly because we know the specific vendor from which this item number is going into. and we can automatically add that item on the fly. And it creates the SS prefix. We go into that item. We'll see that all those other fields come in like we expect. There's the sporting goods. So that's a very well-controlled process. So now what we want to do is when we're finished with this order, we want to submit it to the website of Sports South. Now, let me get the Sports South site back in front of us. All right, this is where we left off with that Sports South site. Let's go back out to the cart. They've already put a few dollars in there. Now, what we want to find out is we did locate an import function. So across the top here, there's an import file. Oh, interesting. We're leaving off with this uncle and that uncle product. Okay, so we're going to go import file. And what they would like are the SKU or the UPC. So column A is going to be the SKU. Column B is going to be the quantity. So we're going to go define in the vendors file what that export is going to look like. And looks like they start out with a header. So we'll start out with a header also in our definition. So let's go back into the system. So we're going to save this, and that's PO 2832. First, and this is only a one-time thing, you go into the vendor. We're going to choose Sport South, Setup, Export, and this is where you can't get in. You have to go select Edit first before we go to this field. Now Export Setup. Now we can go and change. We're going to do a CSV with a header. Quantity to order is going to be the second field, and the vendor part number is going to be the first field. So yeah, that's what they want. So that will take care of that. So we save this. Now let's go to the PO that we just created. There's the $54 PO. It is now loaded. Let's just confirm. Here's the item numbers we expect. Now we're going to choose export. And we're just going to call this sports. And I'll put a 2832. That's fine. And I'll save it. Now, there's the export. Now it's been exported. So what I'll need to do here is I'll get that file in the right spot. Now that may be the trick at times. There is, again, an ability to save to your local desktop through a remote desktop connection to your shared drive at your local workstation, so then you can pick it up. I'll go ahead and place the file where I need it. So now I'll come back around to my system. So on that product list import, which is this sub-menu option below this import, I will now choose file. I will go and find where I located it. There it is. That's the PO 2832. I'm going to upload it. And so, not seen this before, but then we should see that come in. Your list contains not recognized by our system. Interesting. Part number. So, let's go. Rereading this message, I see what the issue is. Remember, we had said that we were going to include the first line. That first line included see part ID and quantity. So that is the quote skipped item. So what we'll actually do is go back to the vendor setup and change that so that it does not include that information. So the appropriate setting in this particular case is that if we go find Sport South, we edit, setup, export setup, we change that to no header, we won't get that message again. And if we go back to that order, we'll see that we brought in, here's the 21779 and the 100951. So to be kind to this particular site, we'll go delete those off. We'll delete this off. We'll delete that off. So that shows you how you can export this file and then re-import it. There it goes. And we're good to go. Thank you.